Welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. With us today, Claire Bergen. Hello, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And you have a dramatic Parsha to discuss, Parshat Shemini. In this Parsha, following the 7 days of their inauguration, Aaron and his sons begin to officiate as Kohanim, priests, in the sanctuary. Aaron's two elder sons, Nadav and Avihu, offer what the Torah calls a strange fire before God, and then they die. God commands the kosher laws, identifying the animal species permissible and forbidden for consumption, and also in Shemini are some of the laws of ritual purity, including the purifying power of the mikveh. The first pasuk of the parsha says, "Vayhi bayom hashmini kara Moshe leAharon ulevanav uleziknei Israel," and it was on the 8th day that Moses summoned Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. So, Claire, when I read this part in which the two sons of Aaron die, consumed by fire, it seems as if Moses is blaming Aaron for this terrible occurrence. No?
So, okay, yeah. So the question of the sin and the blame. Okay, so I think that's and my understanding is that one way to interpret what the sons did, what Nadav and Abihu did, was that they sinned and therefore they were consumed in fire, they were killed. And another way to interpret what happened is that that this was sort of an act of passion, and they've just learned how to perform the priestly sacrifice, and Aaron has just performed this, and to this very dramatic effect, and God appears to the people, and then they try it, and they don't do it right apparently, or something. They try it, and something happens that
they overdid it.
They did it was strange, whatever that's strange, that Eish Zara, whatever the Zara means. So I guess if they did something wrong, perhaps Moses is saying it was Aaron's fault, and if they didn't do something wrong, or if they just did something different, then Moses is trying to explain it.
Okay, and looking at Aaron, what could be wrong about what he did? That he didn't watch them carefully enough, that he didn't educate them, that he was not a good father. What are the possibilities here?
I don't know that I read it as Aaron as being blamed or being held responsible, at least in this.
So tell me, how do you read it? Okay, that was my interpretation. Now let's hear yours.
I think the question of Aaron's responsibility really comes later. It comes in what happens next, which is that his surviving sons, then Moses becomes angry at his surviving sons for something that they have evidently done wrong. In this section, though, it seems that Moses is saying this is what God said. This is what God meant, and with this statement that those who through those near to me, Bikovai Kadesh. So this is how I show myself.
So why is Aaron silent? How do you interpret his silence?
The silence is, I think, one of the most beautiful parts of this whole passage, because it's open to interpretation, and also this is the first reaction this is the first time we see Aaron's reaction to the death of his sons, which, having not experienced a tragedy that close to me in my life, it's hard for me to even say, how would I react? But it could be the silence of mourning. It could be a defiant silence. Well, you've just tried to justify this event for me. What can I possibly say? I've just lost my sons.
Is it a silence?
Speechless.
Is it a silence that is some kind of protest against God?
It could be. I think that's one way to look at it, and I think, yeah, again, in the way that I'm looking at this as this family dynamic of Moses and Aaron, and if they are the closest ones to God, perhaps is the way the story is being portrayed here. Yeah, perhaps maybe he is protesting, Aaron is protesting. There's this interaction of power. There's the power of God as presented in the story, but then there's the power of Moses, who is speaking the words of God, and the power of Aaron, who is the high priest, but they're all interacting and sort of like having this power struggle, it seems. So yeah, I think his silence absolutely could be a protest.
And one of the strange things here, or I'm just thinking out loud, is that you have the three very powerful, well, two people, Moses and Aaron, and one God. All of them are interconnected and very powerful. And all three do things that we can't understand in this parsha. We don't understand why God killed Aaron's sons. We don't understand exactly what Moses is saying, what is Ezra, and what is... We don't understand Moshe's explanation. And we also don't understand Aaron's silence. So it's all wrapped in mystery.
It seems to be. I guess I'll add, not necessarily in response to that directly, but just another theme that seems to present itself here, and yeah, I'll say based on some
please
more recent interpretations of the text that I've been looking at, is this theme of boundary crossing, and we don't know why. We don't know it. The text certainly doesn't explain why this happened, except this is how God says, "I make myself holy." Except for that, we don't know why it happened. And yeah, so this idea that the strange fire is somehow this crossing of a boundary, and the idea that the priests, in their role is to uphold these boundaries, is to perform the sacrifices correctly. And I think, yeah, and thinking about your question about did Aaron sin?
Right.
So I thought, well, where is sin showing itself in this parsha? And it shows itself first in the sin offerings. The priests, Aaron and his sons, their job is to expiate the sins of the people. That is their role as priests, and they have to go through all these specific rites of purity as they cross these boundaries, the boundaries of going into the Mishkan, and these boundaries of approaching closer to God, which is, maybe presented as the most, I would say, the most powerful boundary here. So yeah, we don't know why, but I think that's one way to look at it. They crossed a boundary.
When you read this story, do you also feel that there was, or that there is, some kind of injustice that is done here? That this is a troubling story?
I mean, it seems very confusing. Yes. And I think it can absolutely be seen as unjust. So one way to look at it is they've crossed a boundary, but they don't seem to know what that boundary was. They did something wrong, but we don't know what it was. And it doesn't really say that they knew what it was. And they've been punished for something that they maybe they did not intend to defy, or to hurt, or to do something that should be punished in the logic of the text.
So for us as Jews, what's the lesson here? If you aren't sure of the rules, just be careful.
So, as a secular humanistic rabbinic student, I will say that there are any number of lessons that can be learned by us as Jews reading these texts. I mean, I think what I take from this is just so many questions.
That's a wonderful conclusion. So we'll end here. Parshat Shemini, Claire Bergen, thank you for being with us. And Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom.